Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I'm taking a look at the second release of TFC's Hercules team, second to last. That's when I got him. This is Heavy Labor, he of the initially messed up pelvis, which should no longer be an issue to anyone still looking for the toy as of this recording. Heavy Labor's an industrial strength mega dump truck. You can tell because he's a big bucket on four wheels with a large grill on the front. This is a fistful of plastic chunk, a heavy-set piece of toy that feels like a meatball made of ground badass. Paint apps are decent and almost entirely front-loaded. Thankfully, the hubcaps are ensilvered, but up top, the robot mode hands are pretty much shamelessly hanging out and waving at you when you look down into the dumping bucket. The outside ridges of said bucket also have an extremely simple alphanumeric code that spells out Hercules. Sadly, the bucket can't lift to dump stuff, mostly due to how it transforms. But the big ol' wheels roll well, and a few of the ports for Heavy Labor's cannons allow for them to look like incredibly thick smokestacks, or cannons sitting in the back of a truck bed. Getting this guy into robot mode is one of those unfold all the folded things situations, where the balled up truck mode unfurls into a bipedal strongman. However, Heavy Labor does just enough tricks to make things interesting, particularly in the series of small flaps along his arms that do a cool trick of changing a tapered shape into a series of blocks. That is using mass intelligently, my friends. His head's also got one of those keen trapdoor reveals that make me feel like a happy Houdini. Nearly twice as wide at the shoulders as he is tall from head to toe, Heavy Labor's the muscle-bound mother lover of the Hercules team. Where Structor was a fantastic realization of all the key points of G1's Scrapper, Heavy Labor's a lovely reimagining of G1 Long Haul that takes his front of the truck chest and runs with that base imagery to craft a new strong character image. He's got such a strong sculpt from every angle, even working his scant rearward truck bits into an interesting addition to his shoulder blade structure. Colors are multiplied as high as they can go on the limited Hercules palette, especially on Heavy Labor's front torso, and that head sculpt brings not only our third and final faceplate, but a mono-visored scowl with incredible light piping in not only his eyes, but also his forehead. Heavy Labor's got the one purple, one ruby quartz weapon pairing of firearms that the rest of his pals have got, with his guns being big-ass cylinder cannonettes. Aside from holding them, I really like how they look on the backs of his shoulders. They can also attach to his back parts in order to turn them into a jetpack propelled by guns. Oh, the future. Now, Heavy Labor may look like the kind of man who can barely even lift his arms up to feed himself, but you know what? He can do more than lift his arms. He can turn his head. Due to the transformation, you might think that his head couldn't tilt, but unfortunately, everything pegs together up here. You can, I guess, unseat things slightly, but that involves like opening the chest up and things flop, and I don't know, man. I think you just gotta live with the left and right swivel. Slight amounts of tilt, I guess, when you turn it sideways and the cheek things hit stuff. But on his shoulders, he's got big universal joints. No balls here. This is kind of like a T-peg into a peg, and it's solid, man. And it's all centralized, so it looks good in any pose. He's got biceps, he's got elbows, and his elbows, he's kind of got the broken elbow cap syndrome, but not too badly, because it's still moving on an axis that's a little bit more towards the center of the, I guess, well, it's not a cylinder, the rectangular prism. His hands do nothing, and if you flip them around, stuff flips out with them, and don't do that. He does have a waist joint, and you might think stuff will get in the way, but as you can see, a lot of it kind of just gets itself out of the way when you start turning his waists left and right. His hips are actually the hips of something much larger, and on older Heavy Labors, these things could be troublesome, but mine has the fixed hip that came with I forgot who way back, and nowadays most Heavy Labors on the market should just have enough lube in their hips. If you have an old one, be aware of stuff that you might want to go look up, things about lack of lube, so things might grind themselves clean. Just stuff it full of lube if it starts making loud, horrible squeaking noises. As a result, he's got super tight and super chunky hip ratchets that feel so good on this little guy. They're great when they're on a bigger guy too, but on a little guy, I'm not complaining. He's also got thigh swivels, he's got a double-jointed knee, and then the flap of his foot can fold up a little bit, but that's not going to load a bear? No! Bear a load very well. So His pose ability is pretty good, and it's actually a lot better than you might think taking a glance at this dude. I really like the look of a big, chunky, stocky robot with a really nice, basic, but strong set of joints that keep him looking natural no matter what he's doing. While John Madblender is my favorite Hercules team member, Heavy Labor comes in a close second. He lacks a full-on self-contained play pattern involving a big pile of accessories, but he is an extremely solid standalone transforming toy. Both modes are pretty good, the transformation is pretty good, the posability for such a bulky dude is pretty good. Heavy Labor can really be summed up with the phrase, wait for it, pretty good. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and we've got one more Herculite to review. Provided that none of us fall neck first onto a knocked over stool in a boxing ring, let's reconvene in 1 week to deal with that fellow.